How do you go about making changes in your programming? On this quick hit episode of Student Ministry Connection, I'm sharing some tips that I've learned over the years on how to lead change well. Welcome to Student Ministry Connection. My name is Steve Cullum. Whether you're just starting out in your ministry or you've been in your role for a while, there's going to be times where you want to make some changes. You've been able to see some things that might need to change in order to make your youth group programming better. Maybe you're wanting to change the day of the week that you meet, or maybe you're wanting to change the time. Maybe you're wanting to split into separate middle school and high school programs, or maybe you're wanting to combine your two programs into one. Or maybe there's another change that you're wanting to make. These are all great questions to ask and things to pursue if they make sense. So, how do we go about finding out if they do make sense? And if they do, leading through that change? Well, here are some tips based on my own experience and witnessing other youth pastors who have made changes in their ministries. First, this probably goes without saying, but I'm going to say it anyway. Prayer needs to be throughout the entire process. If you're thinking about making changes, be sure to pray about it. And don't stop praying about it. And of course, this doesn't mean just talking to God about it, but be sure to actively listen to God as well. Let Him be the one leading all of it. And if He says no, don't try to push forward with your own agenda. And if He lets you know that you should be aware of certain things, be sure to pay attention to those things. So as the Apostle Paul says in 1 Thessalonians, pray without ceasing. Secondly, if you're trying to figure out if this change is the right move to make, be sure to think it through. What are all the considerations that you've had for making this change? Whether it be your day or time or whatever it is this change worth it? Really search yourself and figure out why you're actually wanting to make this change. And it really shouldn't be just because another church made the same change or you just kind of got an idea on the spur of the moment. If we're going to make a change like this, we really need to know the why. So search yourself and really figure out the real why behind it. Third, make sure you do your research. Here are some questions to get you started. Would your current students be able to still participate regularly if you made this change? And also, don't just talk to your students because an eighth grader may say, yeah, that sounds great, but their parent still needs to bring them. And so make sure you're including parents in this discussion as well. Another question to ask is, would your current volunteer team still be able to participate most weeks? You may have a great idea and changing a day or time or whatever may sound great and the students are on board, but if you're going to lose a good chunk of your volunteer team, maybe that's something to consider. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you shouldn't go forward with it, but it's definitely something to think through if you know that you're going to lose a large number of your volunteers. And then you have to ask yourself, is it worth it or not? Another question to ask is, are the students that you've yet to reach available on that day or time or whatever that you're considering? It's so important to focus on the students who are already attending and already participating, but sometimes we need to make changes on behalf of the students that we have yet to reach. For instance, if a lot of students in your community aren't available on a certain night of the week, but you know they probably will be on another night of the week, then that's something to consider. Or if you find out that there's something else going on that other night of the week that you're considering, that's something to pay attention to as well. Another question to think about is, what do your trusted inner circle families have to say? These are those families who are really bought in, those ones that really believe in your ministry and you and everything that's going on. What do they have to say? Trust them because they trust you. Another piece of research to go after is, what does your supervising pastor have to say? That person is there to support you and encourage you and guide you as a leader, so don't neglect that relationship. And finally, as we're talking about research, figure out what other youth pastors in your area are saying from the experiences that they have. Maybe they've made changes very similar to what you're thinking about, or maybe they have a program already on the day or time that you're thinking about. Ask them how it went. Ask them if they do that again. and ask them what they learned throughout the process. And when you hear all of these things, please take them to heart. I was a youth pastor at a church where I really wanted to move the day that we met. But every time I asked those key players that it would impact, like my student leaders and my volunteer leaders and my parents, I felt like it wasn't the right move. Unfortunately, after I left, my former supervisor, who was very new in his role, went ahead and made the change. And attendance and participation from both students and volunteer leaders took a nosedive. Finally, I'll go back to something I mentioned in episode 159. Can you experiment with this change for a short amount of time and see what you can learn from it? For example, if you're considering moving your night of the week, can you run a short-term Bible study on that other day just to see if students will actually show up? Or if you're thinking about splitting or combining your programs, could you try it over the summer when a lot of things change up in that time anyway? Then, if it doesn't go well, you have a natural ending to that experiment and you can go back to normal. One thing I've learned early in my ministry from one of my mentors and my college professor was not to make changes right away. If you're new to a church, please try to use the first 6 months to a year for simply observing and getting to know people. While you can make smaller changes like regularly meeting with your volunteer team or adding in regular email communications to parents and students, try as hard as possible not to make any large changes, like changing the day or time of your ministry program or splitting the ministry or anything like that within the first 6 months to a year. Unless you've specifically been hired to come in and make changes quickly, most students and families will not react well to someone who immediately makes changes right after they start. That's usually a way to lose trust in your people. Well, I hope this has been helpful for you, or maybe you know another leader who might benefit from hearing this. If so, please be sure to share it with them. And if you've enjoyed it, please leave a positive review on your favorite podcast app or give us a thumbs up on YouTube. And if you'd like to support me in this podcast and my ministry with National Network of Youth Ministries, you can follow the links in the show notes, or you can head over to nnym.org/Steve Cullum. And you'll find out how you can support this ministry through your finances, through prayer, and several other ways. And if you're looking for a speaker for your next event or training, check out the Speaker Hub at youthmenhub.com/speakerhub. You'll find me and lots of other speakers who you can book for your next event. Well, the next 3 weeks are going to be a little crazy for me. I'm off to Texas this next week for the National Network of Youth Ministries team retreat, and then I'll be at the Nerd Culture Ministry Summit in Colorado Springs, and then NNYM's Youth Ministry Executive Council event in Denver, and then Dare to Share's Energized Youth Ministry Conference also around Denver. So if you're at any of these events, please be sure to look out for me. I would love to meet you in person. And before we wrap up, I just wanted to mention my friend and coworker Travis Deans again, who recently published his youth ministry toolbox as a free ebook. I'm even quoted in one of the chapters. You can check it out at the link in the show notes. We'll be back in a couple weeks with our next episode where we're going to be focusing on how to win with your boss or supervisor. So make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss it. And until then, be sure to stay connected and may God bless your ministry.